Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Steven Sparrow, and this is Berlin Today. Our first story tonight. August 10th through the 11th marked Musket Day throughout the German Empire and its territories, following a decree issued by His Majesty Emperor and Chancellor Hendrik Baumer. The observance drew upon the military legacy of Frederick the Great, with muskets taking center stage in a display of imperial tradition. In the Crown District of Berlin, special regulations remained in force throughout August 11th, prohibiting all unauthorized weaponry. Officers were authorized to carry flintlock pistols and katanas, while non-commissioned officers and enlisted personnel were issued muskets with fixed bayonets through their ordinary quartermaster facilities. What followed was a return to the old traditions of line battle and Napoleonic warfare. Specially made rubber rounds were issued as military units, police forces, and other factions took part in spirited war games and battle simulations honoring those historic tactics. Let's take a look at some of the footage and photographs from Musket Day across the imperial capital.
Too much to say.
Moving right along to our second story, a gas explosion at the Reichstag on August 14th has caused extensive damage, but by the grace of God, claimed no lives and left no one seriously injured. Investigators from the Labor Ministry and the Imperial Labor Service identified the cause as a faulty gas pipe in an unused rear office, while the swift actions of emergency crews prevented a collapse of the building's foundations. But in the days since, the Empire has turned misfortune into opportunity. Rather than simply restoring what was lost, the Reichstag will be repaired, improved, and rebuilt to stand stronger than before. The Imperial Labor Service has already begun work at the site, clearing debris, securing the structure, and laying the foundation for its renewal. Upon hearing the call for reconstruction, thousands of spirited young men offered themselves to the Imperial Labor Service, ready to lend their hands and labor to one of the most important national projects in the capital. Their response has transformed the rebuilding effort into something greater than construction alone, a display of unity, discipline, and patriotic purpose. The Reichstag has long stood as a symbol of German government and national life. Soon, through the work of the Labor Service and the citizens who have answered its call, it will rise again, not simply repaired, but renewed for a stronger empire. For more on this, we go to the man in charge of the repair efforts, Count Albert Royce.
Due to unmaintained infrastructure, a gas leak has caused some damage to the Reichstag. I've taken charge of the rebuilding efforts, and I'm happy to announce that since this restoration project has begun, countless citizens have signed up to join the CAD, and our current roster of workers has rushed in to begin repairing and renovating our beautiful Reichstag into an even grander, greater structure. We will and we are building back better. Now we've taken this fantastic opportunity to improve our Empire's Capitol building and display the skilled designing of our hard work of our Empire's best and brightest. Ave.
Thank you so much for that update, Count Royce. Now, let's take a quick break and see what this week's weather forecast is looking like with Berlin Today's newest meteorologist, John Mason. John, what's it looking like out there?
Gracias, Steven. Como puedes ver detrás mío, no mames, güey. 75 grados Celsius desde domingo a sábado, cabrón. Y ya lo estaríamos orinando. Necesitaremos unas pintas para este fin de semana. Muchas gracias.
Well, muchas gracias, Juan. Now, in other news, the Supreme Court of the German Empire has issued its judgment in the case of former National Security Bureau Director Baxter Mueller against Interior Minister Theodore Walsh. The court upheld Minister Walsh's authority to remove Director Mueller from office, ruling that a minister who has the authority to appoint a subordinate also retains the discretion to dismiss him when no law or imperial directive limits that power. However, the court found that this authority did not extend to the treatment Mueller faced following his dismissal. The judgment held that public humiliation, threats of execution, and a firing line order could not be imposed without lawful conviction or judicial authorization. The court therefore entered judgment against Minister Walsh on the matter of extrajudicial punishment, awarding Mueller 250,000 Deutsches Marks in compensatory damages. The ruling establishes a clear principle. Administrative authority may remove an official from office, but punishment must remain in the hands of the lawful judicial and disciplinary process. For more on the court's decision, we now turn to Minister of Justice and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court himself, Leo Schultz.
You know, before I came to town, Justice Department needed a lot of work. I am proud of the Supreme Court trial that we had. I believe that the appropriate verdict was delivered, upholding the Order Marshal's rights to dismiss people as they work at his pleasure. But I also believe it sets checks and balances. You can't just go around hurting people for no reason. So, you know, big win for justice, big win for the former NSB director. But man, what a great justice ministry, I tell you. I appreciate the federal government's funding. They gave us $125,000 this last term. Man, this is great. What a wonderful justice ministry.
Thank you so much for that, Minister Schultz. Now, our final story of the evening. Two of the empire's largest ministries underwent a dramatic change in leadership this week, beginning with the Ministry of War. War Minister August von Gneisenau retired from office, but shortly thereafter became the subject of a Protective Custody Commission action. Interpol Inspector Tim Musk led officials to von Gneisenau's Munich residence after receiving orders to bring the former Kriegsmarshal before the commission. In the aftermath of that operation, von Gneisenau was taken to hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The Crown then moved swiftly to ensure continuity of command. Kurz von Byron was appointed the War Marshal, Minister of War, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, placing the Empire's military leadership under new direction. But the changes within the Ministry of the Interior proved even more extraordinary. Order Marshal and Interior Minister Theodore Walsh first resigned from his offices. Then, on August 11th, the Crown appointed Hermann Kessler as Order Marshal of the Imperial Security Corps, Minister of the Interior, and Chief of German Police. However, later reports stated that Kessler had been found dead, with the NSB determining the death to be a suicide. With no successor named for the office of Order Marshal following Kessler's death, the Crown opened applications to the Empire. In an unexpected final development, however, Baxter Mueller, the former NSB director who had been days earlier in a Supreme Court judgment, was selected for the very post at the center of those events. Mueller now assumes office as Order Marshal and Minister of the Interior. A remarkable week of transition has left both the Ministry of War and the Ministry of Interior under new leadership, as the Empire looks ahead to the work now before them. That's all for this week's episode of Berlin Today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your Minister of Truth, Stephen Sparrow. See you next time.